So for those who don't know, I actually lost my dad about 10 plus years ago. I stopped counting after the 10 plus mark because things have really gotten easier for me. I've been more willing to talk about it and even cracking jokes about it in the right situations too. But sometimes you really have to read the room too because you don't want to offend people. However, I do think I'm in a way better place about it. I really want to talk about it more. So let's get started. Firstly, I'm going to talk more about my family. So I grew up with a smaller family, like immediate family. I grew up with my dad, mom, and my sister, my older sister. We also loved our family. We had a lot of fun together. Definitely some tension with the parents at times. There was definitely a lot of love there though, but no hate there. There's definitely all love in that situation. But I'm just telling you the background. And my sister was older than me. We got along so well. The only thing we really argued about was stealing each other's clothes because we literally fit in the same size of everything except pant size. Like my sister was a little bit taller than me and also had a little bit bigger hips than me. So it was really funny. And she would also be the one to be like, oh, I don't like what you're wearing. And then I see her stealing what I just wore the other day. So it's kind of funny how that works. She was like, oh yeah, she's onto something. So yeah, but we definitely, and we even got closer after my dad died. But also, just because our immediate family is small, we actually have, when it came to my dad's situation, he grew up with a very big family, 9 brothers and sisters. I know, insane, right? And his 2 parents, like his dad was a cop and his mom was a stay-at-home mom for many years. Very traditional family, obviously, very involved in the church. And his family was not that good about talking about emotions. A lot of them also were engineers, the men, which is really funny. And even the girls too in the family were not as good talking about their emotions. There's a few though that were okay. But I'm just telling you the dynamic. It was very difficult upbringing for him at some point. So there was a lot of lacking people he could talk to. And also he didn't grow up in a very wealthy family. At least when he was a kid. Like his family definitely gained wealth later on because they owned a property that a company wanted to buy. And eventually they gave them an offer they couldn't say no to, but that was way later on. And that was still their money until they passed away. But my dad passed away before then. So sadly, however, I'm just giving you the background. So, and then my mom's side, I'll just give you a brief background too. She definitely grew up with a smaller family than him, but there was also a lot of like Norwegian ancestry too, but definitely a very close-knit family. And also there's some issues too. We had a lot of family members that were like involved in the war and immigration. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on there, but yeah, very nice family. And I definitely got along with that grandma very well. And also the grandpa on that side passed away when I was 6 months old. So I don't really remember anything about him. I've just seen photos of him and heard good stories, but I just giving you some more situations about our story. So we all had a very good life, and also my dad was an engineer and one of the best ones. He literally loved his job and he knew like from day one that he wanted to be an engineer. But also there was a lot of people around him in his family, like men, who were pursuing that or wanted to pursue it. But he was made for that. He even fixed TVs to get through school. So I think that's really funny. He was a mechanical and electrical engineer. And I tell you how successful he was. He really worked up the ranks. And he also really loved his job. And also, I'm going to sidetrack you. My dad was working at this one company for many years. And then he also worked at another company for the rest of his life. And before he did that, moved to the other company, he got married to my mom, which actually met my mom through his sister because they worked together in Madison, Wisconsin, which I think is really random. But yeah, my mom was her boss, I guess, or superior. I don't know. They worked at insurance. They were insurance claims together in like a medical facility. So not actually like at an insurance firm, but the medical, like with the doctors specifically. But they handled claims, and that's how they met. And they ended up being long distance at first because he was in Green Bay at that time for work, I believe. And if not Pulaski, somewhere close to there. But they had to like do long distance because she was living in Madison, and they got married, I think, within like a year, something like that. Or engaged, something like they, not super fast, but they definitely moved in pretty fast because of the distance, and they loved each other. And yeah, so they ended up getting married and moving in together, buying a house, and she also didn't have to work anymore. Although she loved working, which is also an issue too, because she definitely did not want to not work, but however, it was the only thing that she felt like was right in that situation. But also my dad didn't have a problem with her working. However, they did have 2 kids, and childcare is really expensive. I mean, we could have afforded it, but like, she was hyper focused on that one thing. And she also had brothers that were like disabled. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on, but I'm just telling you the background of what's going on here. So she definitely had her hands full in that situation too, but she was just always like talking about how she wished she could have pursued it more, like her career, because she really liked her career and she was good at it. Totally fair. I get it. And also my dad was talking about it too, like, oh yeah, like he wished that she could have pursued her career more too, and he wasn't holding her back either, but that's just what they decided at the time. Well, I don't even know if it was her or him who decided that, or if it was just mutual. But yeah, that's what happened at that time. And they could do that because my dad made enough money, so it wasn't a problem. That's the nice thing about engineering, but yeah. And also I had to tell you how smart this man was, okay? So, back up. He literally graduated top of his class, UW-Madison, home of the Badgers. Do you know how hard this school is? Do you know how hard engineering is? Very hard. Very hard. Very smart man. Literally the smartest man I've ever met. And I know I'm skewed maybe saying that, but I believe that's true, in my opinion. So, we got along very well. Also, I have to say this too. He didn't have any sons. He just had 2 daughters. And I was more willing to like go outside with him and hang out. So I feel like I really spent a lot more time with him than my sister did. She did occasionally, but I was more willing to than, well, obviously not my mom would, like my mom did not like it at all. So, or even like going up, like we even liked going up north or going to visit their family in like Madison. Yeah. Or Fond du Lac area too, or Waupun. Yeah, there was a lot of family like near Madison, but the thing is, we definitely got along, and he definitely liked hanging out with me, and I also loved spending time with him outdoors. We definitely had a lot of memories of each other out there, and that is also one of the ways that I think about him all the time. And also, whenever it's like Father's Day or his birthday, I always try to go outside and celebrate his birthday, and that is a way that I feel closer to him. So I don't know if you guys do that too for anyone who's lost anyone. I definitely do things that make me think of him, or just be outside, because we both love being outside, and especially together in the past. We had so many good memories. And also I'm going to tell you more about how he died too. So I was actually a senior in high school when he died, technically 18. And I had a month left, not even a month left of school. It was actually the end of spring break when he passed away. And I'm also gonna tell you more about our background and how he got sick, all that kind of stuff too. So I actually have to say something too, because there was a lot of issues with the situation. A lot of family members, we really fell out with each other. And it also friends, like I'm gonna say this too, like there's a lot of people that I don't really trust. And it also gave me trust issues, and my sister, my mom, there's a whole bunch of things too. And I can literally tell you, the only people I trust are my sister and my best friend. So that is literally how insane the situation was. And it really tested people, and people are gonna make mistakes too, but sometimes people really can turn on you, and it's horrible when it's like your own family. And I'm not saying everyone is like that because it's a big family, but like there was definitely some bad apples in the situation, but I'll get to that later on. But I felt like my dad didn't always have the best support system around him, and he was really afraid to get my sister and I involved because we were really little, especially me. Like, I was a lot younger than her, but anyway, he didn't want to like stress us out too much, and I don't even think he knew how to, because that is just the way he was brought up by his family and also as a man in general. A lot of men have this issue, and I feel horrible about it too. So, by the way, if you guys are struggling with any issues, just know that I'm here for you too. And also, grief has also taught me to go to therapy and also really work on myself. But it is also, even though it is definitely a very, very hard situation, and I would not wish it upon anyone, I still don't wish it to happen again. I wish I could get my dad back. I wish that this wasn't my outcome, but sadly, sometimes I believe this. Stuff happens for a reason, even if it's painful and challenging. It's leading you to the right path, even though it's very terrible. Definitely very terrible challenge for my family and I and friends, but it's still something that I feel like has purpose, and has also led me to be more aware, more empathetic. So, and it's taught me a lot of lessons too, but I also really had to grow up very fast as a child. Same thing with my sister and I. After my dad died, I'm gonna like bounce back and forth here. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just kind of winging it, but I think this is more genuine for me. When my dad died, I actually was just starting college. So I had like this summer to like kind of grieve a little bit. And I also regret not pushing it back. Anyway, my mom wanted me to just go because I already had signed up. I was paying for it anyway, so it didn't really matter regardless. But yeah, but I guess it was all meant to happen that way. So when I went back to school, I can't believe I did not fail out because I was so sad. And I'm a pretty good student. I'm pretty smart. But that whole dad situation, especially when he gets sick, and especially when he died, it got even worse. And especially the like first year was really hard. But yeah, I regret not pushing off school because I really needed time to, I didn't even know that would be that issue either. You know what I mean? Like, as someone who never went through that, especially not something that damaging. But I'm letting you know, if your gut's telling you to do something, listen to it because it can help you. And I should listen to that. But anyway, you don't have to have everything figured out. Take it at your own pace. But yeah, it definitely was really hard to go to school and hang out with all these really happy people. And I also joined a sorority, which was great for making friends. However, everyone's like, oh, let's have fun and party and laugh every day, which was good sometimes. But as someone who was very sad, it was hard. Like, I felt like a lot of days I couldn't relate, and I was putting on like a happy face. It was really sad. And I think I cried so much that like I couldn't even cry anymore. If anyone relates, then I'm really sorry, but occasionally I'll cry here and there, like randomly out of nowhere, but more on my own. But it's a lot less now, obviously, because that was a horrible situation. Anyway, we found out he was sick, and we didn't even think he was gonna be sick at all at this appointment. So actually, by the way, I'm gonna tell you, we found out he was sick like the summer before I started high school, like middle school, right? And I actually didn't know the full capacity of the situation, neither did my sister, because it was something really rare. So, and it wasn't like cancer. Okay, so like cancer is more like black and, well, not black and white, but like more well known. And they're like, oh yeah, you have 6 months to live, whatever, or you have these treatments, right? Was not like that at all. So my dad had a high stress job, right? Like, he worked in engineering, and he works with the ladder. He was one of the highest ones up, right? And he also had been traveling a lot, so he was they're used to going to therapy and getting on medications. That wasn't anything out of the ordinary for him. At least, I don't know about you guys too, like some of you high performers, like I feel like a lot of them struggle sometimes. But anyway, he was just going to the therapist's office to get put on another drug, potentially, and see what was up. And because he was really struggling with his health at that point, like he thought it was just mental health issue, very small issue, because he thought it was just something very simple fix. But he went in there and they were talking to him, came to figure out it wasn't anything they could do. They referred him to a specialist. The specialist found out he was dying. Yep. So he went in for a therapy appointment to try and get on a medicine. Came out finding out he's dying. It's like, well, how does that even happen? Have you heard of a situation like that before? Because I have never heard about that. But, and also, I can tell you, this disease was something that was not super well known, although it was on TV. If you want to know more about this disease, you can look it up. It's actually in a house. It's called Huntington's, and that's how rare it is. So it's on that show. And I believe that came out after, actually, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this because I'm not a house expert on when things came out, but I believe that was after my dad died. If not, I'm sorry, but I know that it's a thing. Personally, I watched it after he passed away. Maybe I didn't on purpose, but like, I also cried through it. Anyway, with my boyfriend at the time, obviously. But yeah, that's how rare this disease was because, and also I'm gonna tell you too, it's not something where you're like, oh yeah, you have 6 months to live. These are your treatments. They're literally like, yeah, you are gonna get some medication to deal with the symptoms. Good luck. That's literally what it is, or at least that's what it was at that point. That's all they offered you. And they're like, oh yeah, your family can get it, blah, blah, blah. Could, right? There's a whole bunch of, and you wanna know what, you guys? He found out that his family was hiding a disease. Yep, and I guess they were hiding it on purpose because later on we found out that yes, at the time that they were gonna get married, they were talking about how my grandma shouldn't marry my grandpa because of his familial history. I guess they knew about the Huntington's and someone else had already died from it. So it is something that is basically like, oh, you're gonna die. There's no treatment. I don't even know if there was IVF available at the time. Like, there's now IVF too. I think they're getting closer to a treatment. There's a lot more research on it now versus back then, but like there's still not a lot of options versus like cancer. And even some cancers too are like this too. But I'm just telling you, this is how rare it is, and it's not as funded and as research. Although I do follow it on like Facebook and other groups too. But yeah, there's like some charities that I follow and they do like research work. It sounds like they're getting closer to more treatments, but they're working on it. Anyway, same thing too with cancer, you know, like you have to keep going. And also I think a lot of like companies don't want answers, sadly, but yeah, greed